said the screams could be heard from the main road. At night, when the wind blew past number 47, people swore they heard someone crying, weak, thirsty, and begging for water. Some said it was the ghost of a woman who once lived there. Others said it was guilt itself, trapped inside the walls. But those who really knew what happened never spoke too loudly about it. In Abuja, inside a quiet, rich estate where the air smelled of money and pride, there stood a big mansion, number 47. It belonged to Madame Khadija, owner of Dija Homes and Properties, one of the biggest real estate companies in town. People feared her as much as they respected her. She was tall, fair, and always smelled of strong perfume. Her gold bangles jingled whenever she moved, like warning bells. Her two daughters, Rukayat and Mariam, followed her everywhere, loud, proud, and heartless, just like their mother. Working for Madame Khadija wasn't easy. Everybody in the company knew that. But one woman, Aisha, had managed to survive. Aisha was the company's estate manager, quiet, humble, and hardworking. She handled clients, arranged house viewings, and helped close deals. Many people used to say, if not for Aisha, that company for Dawn collapse. She lived alone in a small, self-contained apartment in Lugbe. Her dream was to save enough money to open her own property agency one day. But Abuha life no big beans. Transport, rent, feeding, and family wahala kept draining her pocket. So one day, when she helped her madam sell a mansion in Maitama, she added 1.2 million naira to the price. It wasn't greed, it was survival. Many agents did the same thing sometimes, but Madame Khadija wasn't like others. It started with a phone call. Hello, Aisha, Madame's cold voice said. Come to my house tomorrow morning by 10. I want to discuss something important. Aisha smiled, thinking maybe it was a new deal. Okay, madam. I'll be there. The next morning, she dressed neatly in a black and wine hijab, put on her best sandals, and took a cab to number 47. When she entered the compound, it was too quiet. The guard opened the gate slowly and didn't meet her eyes. Good morning, she greeted. He just nodded and looked away. Rukayat and Mariam stood by the veranda, whispering to each other, their eyes full of mockery. Good morning, Aisha greeted again. They didn't answer. Before she could knock, the door opened. Adamu, one of the house staff, said softly, Auntie Aisha, Madame, they wait for you. Inside, the living room was cold and smelled of perfume and anger. Madame Khadija sat on her golden sofa, tapping her bangles. So, you're the thief? She said quietly. Aisha blinked, confused. Ma, where's my money? Madame asked again, her voice sharp. What money, Ma? I don't understand. The 1.2 million naira you added to my house sale. Madame snapped. You think I wouldn't find out? Madam, please, Aisha begged. It was agency fee, I explained to the client. Before she could finish, Rukayat came from behind and slapped her hard. You're a thief, Mariam shouted. You bite the hand that feeds you. Aisha's eyes filled with tears. I'm not a thief, wallahi. I only took my commission. Madame stood up slowly, her eyes full of fire. You want to argue with me? You'll learn today. They dragged her outside into the hot sun. Sit down there, Madame shouted. The floor burned her knees, sweat dripped down her face. Admit you're a thief, Madame screamed. Aisha shook her head weakly. Madam, please, I'm not. Madame handed a whip to Mariam. 10 strokes, she said coldly. The first one landed hard. Aisha screamed, then another and another. By the 10th lash, her voice was gone. Madam looked at the guard. Is the dog cage still there? The man hesitated. Yes, madam. Put her inside. No food, no water. Let her learn. They dragged Aisha to the corner of the compound where the dogs used to stay. The old rusted cage was still there, smelling of iron and dust. They pushed her inside and locked it. As they walked away, Madam said coldly, "No food, no water, no pity." The first night was hell. Mosquitoes bit her until she couldn't even scratch anymore. The cold winds slapped her face. Her stomach twisted in pain. By morning, her throat was dry. She begged the maids for water, but they looked away. Everyone was scared of Madame. The second day was worse. The sun roasted her skin. Her lips cracked. She licked her sweat just to feel moisture. By the third night, she could barely move. Her voice was a whisper. Then late in the night, an old security guard, Baba Musa, sneaked close. He looked around and whispered, "My daughter, take this small water before you die here." He passed a bottle through the cage. Tears ran down her cheeks. "Thank you, Baba. May Allah bless you." He sighed deeply. "Please, just admit what she wants. Say you're a thief, so she'll free you." Aisha shook her head slowly. "How can I lie just to survive?" By the fourth day, she couldn't stand again. Her voice was gone. At sunset, Madame finally said, "Open the cage. Let her go." Aisha fell out weakly, her feet swollen, body burnt from the sun. She didn't look back. She took a bike straight to a small clinic in Wus. When the nurses saw her, they gasped. They treated her wounds and helped her file a report. The next day, she went straight to the National Human Rights Commission in Maitama. When they heard her story, they took it seriously. Within days, Madam Khadija and her daughters were summoned to court. The story spread everywhere in Abuja. Abuja Madam locked staff in dog cage over 1.2 million naira. It was on blogs, radio, WhatsApp groups, everywhere. In court, Aisha stood trembling but strong. She told everything. When Baba Musa testified, the courtroom went silent. "If I no give her that night water," he said softly, "she for die." The judge looked at Madame and said, "This is not discipline. This is wickedness." He ordered Madam Khadija and her daughters to pay compensation, face charges for torture, and their company to be shut down for investigation. Weeks later, Rukayat and Mariam's flashy Instagram pages went dead. Their friends avoided them. People whispered when they passed, "Those are the ones who locked their staff in a dog cage." Aisha used part of her compensation to open a small office in Gaki. She hung a simple signboard. Aisha Realty Consults Honesty, Dignity, Trust. She started helping regular people find decent homes. Clients loved her kindness. She forgave, but she never forgot. Sometimes she passed by number 47. The mansion was quiet. The grass overgrew the gate. The dogs were gone. But at night, neighbors still said they heard a woman crying softly. "Water, please, water." Some said it was just the wind. Others said it was justice, whispering through the walls of the guilty. And so, the story of number 47 became one of Abusha's whisper folk tales. A warning that money can buy houses, but not peace. Because some screams never die. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye.